committee is a type of small deliberative assembly that is usually intended to remain subordinate to another, larger deliberative assembly which when organized so that action on committee requires a vote by all its entitled members, is called the Committee of the Whole. Committees often serve several different functions: governance in organizations considered too large for all the members to participate in decisions affecting the organization as a whole. A committee is given the power to make decisions, spend money, or take actions. Some or all such powers may be limited or effectively unlimited. For example, of the later case, the board of directors can frequently enter into binding contracts and make decisions which once taken or made, cannot be taken back or undone under the law. Coordination. Individuals from different parts of an organization might meet regularly to discuss developments in their areas, review projects that cut across organizational boundaries, talk about future options, etc. Where there is a large committee, it is common to have smaller committees with more specialized functions. For example, boards of directors of large corporations typically have an audit committee, finance committee, compensation committee, etc. Large academic conferences are usually organized by a coordinating committee drawn from the relevant professional body. Research and recommendations. Committees are often formed to do research and make recommendations on a potential or planned project or change. For example, an organization considering a major capital investment might create a temporary working committee of several people to review options and make recommendations to upper management or the board of directors. Such committees are typically dissolved after issuing recommendations. Tabling, as a means of public relations by sending sensitive, inconvenient, or irrelevant matters to committees, organizations may bypass, stall, or disacknowledge matters without declaring a formal policy of inaction or indifference. Procedures. It is common for a chairperson to organize a committee meeting through an agenda, which is usually distributed in advance. The chairperson is responsible for running meetings, keeping the discussion on the appropriate subject, recognizing members, often omitted in smaller committees, and calling for votes after a debate has taken place. Formal voting is normally only done in committees involved in governance. Governance committees often have formal processes. Other types of committees typically operate informally, with the chairperson being responsible for deciding how formal the committee processes will be. Minutes, a record of the discussion and decisions of a meeting, are often taken by a person designated as the secretary of the committee. They may be legally obligatory. For committees that meet regularly, the minutes of the most recent meeting are often circulated to committee members before the next meeting, and are available to the membership of the whole. Committees may meet on a regular basis, often weekly or yearly, or meetings may be called irregularly as the need arises. During an emergency, a committee may meet more than once per day, or sit in permanent session, as, for example, ExCom did during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Subcommittees. A committee that is a subset of a larger committee is called a subcommittee. Where the larger group has a name other than committee, for example, board, or commission, the smaller group, S, would usually be called committee, S, not subcommittee, S, and might go by an entirely different name, or substitute commission for committee. For example, in the sciences, the International Commission on Stratigraphy, a standing working committee, is doing organizational work establishing uniform naming and benchmarks in the geologic record and timelines since 1974, all under the auspices of the International Union of Geological Sciences. It is technically the International Stratigraphy Committee, which has limited executive committee powers to empanel other subcommittees to resolve certain matters involving the geologic timescale. Its deliberations and those of its subcommittees must be adopted by the IUGS, which meets in a committee of the whole or congress, every 4 years or so to deliberate on the subcommittee recommendations and officially adopt or not adopt such. From the foregoing, it can easily be seen subcommittees can generally be classified further by the adjectives, executive, standing, and working, executive committees. An executive committee, as a type of subcommittee, has well-defined executive powers and meets frequently to manage the affairs and further the purposes of an organization or entity. Organization with a large board of directors or national and international organizations, commonly impanel executive committees. A board of directors itself functions as a kind of executive committee, established by the charter and bylaws of the entity and elected by the overall franchised membership. Organizations with large boards of directors, say 20 people or more, commonly have an executive committee of the board, an executive subcommittee of board members collectively authorized to make some decisions on behalf of the entire board. Standing committees, a committee established by an official and providing for its scope and powers. Most governmental legislative subcommittees are standing committees, which by another name is a permanent committee. Standing committees meet on a regular or irregular basis dependent upon their enabling act, and retain any power or oversight claims originally given them until subsequent official actions of the Committee of the Whole disbands the committee. Working committees, an ad hoc committee established to accomplish a particular task or to oversee an ongoing area in need of control or oversight. Many are research or coordination committees entitled purpose, and can be temporary. Some are a subgroup of a larger society with a particular area of interest which decides to meet and discuss matters pertaining to their interests. For example, a group of astronomers might get together ad hoc to discuss how to get the larger society to address near-Earth objects. A subgroup of engineers and scientists of a large project's development team could meet ad hoc to solve some particular issue with offsetting considerations and trade-offs. The term, when used officially, generally means a group with specific duties and related authority, so when encountered in official contexts subsumes all other official types of committees. The International Commission on Stratigraphy and its subcommittees are working committees that meet both far more regularly and more frequently, both in deliberation and coordination, furthering the needs of the IUGS and the larger scientific community. Need: committees are a necessary aspect of organizations of any significant size. They keep the number of participants manageable. Cross-field reasons: committees are a way to formally draw together people of relevant expertise from different parts of an organization who otherwise would not have a good way to share information and coordinate actions. They may have the advantage of widening viewpoints and sharing out responsibilities. They can also be impaneled with experts to recommend actions by the Committee of the Whole in matters that require specialized knowledge or technical judgment. A defense or banking subcommittee in legislative bodies or the many international science commissions such as the ICS mentioned above, or a local board of health or may be such. Conference committee: a conference committee is a joint committee of a bicameral legislature, which is appointed by, and consists of, members of both chambers to resolve disagreements on a particular bill. While such committees are common in the United States Congress and legislatures in other countries with presidential systems, they are no longer in use in the Parliament of the United Kingdom or most other bicameral Westminster system parliaments. A conference committee is usually composed of the senior members of the standing committees of each house that originally considered the legislation. In the United States Congress, a conference committee is a temporary panel of House and Senate negotiators. When the two houses pass similar bills with variants, a conference committee is appointed to resolve the differences between the bills and produce a compromise acceptable to both houses. Unless one house decides to accept the other's original bill, a re-vote is necessary in both houses. Standing committees: a standing committee is a subunit of a political or deliberative body established in a permanent fashion to aid the parent assembly in accomplishing its duties. A standing committee is usually granted jurisdiction over a particular area of legislation by the parent body. Under the laws of the United States of America, a standing committee is a congressional committee permanently authorized by United States House of Representatives and United States Senate rules. The Legislative Reorganization Act of 1946 greatly reduced the number of committees, and set up the legislative committee structure still in use today, as modified by authorized changes via the orderly mechanism of rules changes. Executive Standing Committee: the section in the government where they make executive decisions. Legislatures: the phrase is used in the legislatures of the following countries: Australia, Australian House of Representatives committees, Australian Senate committees. Canada, list of committees of the Canadian House of Commons, Standing Committee. China, Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. Iceland, List of standing committees of the Icelandic Parliament. India, Standing Committee. United Kingdom, Public Bill Committee. United States, Standing Committee. Parliamentary committees. The following take part in the parliamentary procedure: Fiscal Committee, if the bill contains an appropriation or has financial implications for the state or federation. Policy Committee. Appropriate committee to the subject matter. Rules Committee. The Rules Committee of the House assigns each bill to a policy committee. Steering Committees. A steering committee is a committee that provides guidance, direction and control to a project within an organization. The term is derived from the steering mechanism that changes the steering angle of a vehicle's wheels. Project steering committees are frequently used for guiding and monitoring the information technology projects in large organizations, as part of project governance. The functions of the committee might include building a business case for the project, planning, providing assistance and guidance, monitoring the progress, controlling the project scope and resolving conflicts. See also. References